Can you hear me? It's just connecting your audio.
I'm in now, yeah?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. How you getting on?
Good, not too bad. How are you, Colin?
I'm good, man. That's some setup you have there. 2FM. Eat your heart out.
Yeah, I tell you what, you're not too bad yourself. It's your microphone.
Yeah, I got my headphones out with deals. I'm not doing bad. How are you getting on?
Good, yeah. How was your swim?
Yeah, man, it was lovely. Yeah, it was really nice. You ever get in the sea?
Oh, fuck no, man. No.
Oh,
No.
it's great for
I
that.
mean,
No,
yeah, I've been in the sea, all right, but like not like what the trend is now, jumping in the middle of the
Yeah.
morning and fucking.
Yeah, it's gone very trendy. No, you can have a chat about it on the podcast, sure. But
Yeah,
how's the
absolutely.
form anyway? All good, yeah.
Yeah, good, not too bad. Yeah, nice one for asked me to come on. Like,
No,
cheers.
man, I fucking love your stuff, man. It's brilliant. Like, just have me in stitches. Like, you're the
Deadly.
funny man. Fair play, man. That's what it is. It's like, yes, like you don't know the amount of people that are cheering up, like just putting out that bit of humor, like, and and like when you laugh at something, it cheers you up, like, you know what I mean. And people going through
Yeah.
all the hardship and seeing all the bad news and the negativity, and then they're like looking at yourself there, just putting out all the comedy and all the funny stuff. Like, it's just something to look forward to, like, you know what I mean. A bit of comedy and all the madness, like,
Yeah. Is this the podcast? Is the podcast going now, or will we?
No, so what I'll do, I'm gonna do a little introduction. I don't want to do these podcasts. I never have like any questions or anything like that written down. So I just do it in like a state of flow, and we just see how the conversation goes, and we take it from there. So I'll just do a little introduction, and then we get it going, right?
Yeah, can't wait to hear that.
Yeah. Wait, what's your name again? Oh, yes.
I'm here with Darren Conway. Oh wait, no.
Yeah. Right. So I'll just do my Jazz FM voice now. Hello, friends. How are you? How are you getting on? I hope you're having a lovely, gentle day. My name's Colin, and this is the Sober Mess podcast, and you're very welcome. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to have the man that I have on the podcast today. Today, I'm joined by a comedian, a comedy sketcher, and one of the funniest feckers in Ireland. He's the creator of the sketch group, The Wind Up Merchants, and his sketches have been viewed by millions all over the world. So today, I'm very pleased to have my good pal, Joseph McGucken, on the podcast. So, McGucken, what's cooking?
What's the doodling? What's drooling? Not much, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's just a sign that I'm just back from my sea dip, so I'm still holding them sea dip endorphins, man. So yeah,
I don't get it.
Yeah, man.
I don't get it, Colin.
It's like therapy, man. It's like getting in the sea. It's just something about nature, man. It's just wonderful. Like, it's just get that connection, man. It's just like putting the brain in for the wash, the spin dry.
Oh, just jump in a cold shower, though. The effort of going to the beach.
I know.
And drying off the sand. Oh, it's the worst thing in the world.
I know, man. I know. It can be fecking. It can be getting messy. My apartment's like a beach now at the moment. But I was having a creep on your Instagram, man, and I seen you doing that tour, the Tour du Mont Blanc there around the Swiss Alps.
Yeah.
That looked
unreal,
man. What was that like?
Oh, Jesus, man. That was... So before that, me and the missus done a hike, the Camino de Santiago. I don't know if you know that one.
Yeah, man, yeah.
So we done that. That's pretty easy. I mean, I'm not a walker or a hiker. I don't consider myself a physical person at all. But the missus just wanted to do that. Like, she just likes challenging herself. And I just think it's walking. How hard can walking be? Yeah, so we done that. And I mean, it wasn't easy, but we done it, like, you know what I mean? So then she wanted to do the Tour de Mont Blanc. She just seen photographs, Instagram, like you said, fucking all that. Can of course?
Yeah, you can't say what you fucking want.
But we done that. Yeah, so we had a baby, and she still wanted to do the Tour de Mont Blanc. So we done it with him when he was 1.5. And now this.
And what did you have? Did you carry the baby up?
It's not just a hike, like. Yeah, so it's like I have like a backpack that you sit the baby into the back of, and it has a water pack on it, and it's a bit of, but it's, I mean, it's heavy, and so is
Yeah.
a baby on the back, and the long walks, and it's long days, and it's cold, and fuck yeah, like it was tough, man. That was
Wait,
really tough,
oh,
like
really? That,
scary tough,
I say the views are incredible though, are they? I'd say it was beautiful.
stunning, stunning. I was excited to do it because it's the mountain that the Toblerone mountain is based on. I think
Right.
you know
Yeah.
the Toblerone
Yeah.
bar. The
Yeah.
mount, yes. I
And
was just like, oh, that's the whole time. I was like, that's the Toblerone mountain.
Where's it? Did you go up there with your top brown and try to get the picture?
Yeah.
I know.
It was no, but yeah, no, it was stunning, man. It was the views were stunning, and it's really good struggling and finding something hard, and then coming to the end of the day and seeing something so gratifying as a view like that. Like
It's
every
beautiful.
day is just
Yeah.
stunning, like
That's a
stunning.
good, I suppose that's like a good analogy for life, isn't it? That we put the hard work in, and when we get to that mountaintop, you can appreciate the view a whole lot better. Like, you know, that anything that
Yeah,
comes easy is never worth it. But when we put that work in and, you know, do a bit of a struggle, then we appreciate that view so much more because we know we worked for it. Especially you
yeah.
carrying the baby up the mountain.
I know. I was just like, get that child to sleep now. That was the view I was looking forward to the most.
Yeah. Ah, that's class, man. No, that's deadly.
Yeah, it was.
So how is it? So like in terms of you doing comedy and like you obviously creative writer, like when did you first discover like your goo for comedy and like wanting to get into it? Like
It's a weird question to put to point your finger at. Like this is when it started. At like it's. I think everything starts like at a developmental stage. Like when I was a kid, I liked being the center of attention, or
yeah,
I was an ugly kid, so I relied on me sense of humor to make people laugh. Like that's how I kind of fit into groups.
yeah,
Um, and I was always the youngest. Like all my mates and stuff are older, so I just tried to be the funny guy to fit in and have like a place.
yeah,
So
I get that.
that's kind of. I mean, if I was to put my finger on it, I'd be like, that's how it started. But then, like when YouTube and stuff came about, even before YouTube, I used to make jackass videos. Do you remember people used to go around like,
Yeah, love Jackass. Yeah,
yeah,
pushing your
like
mates into bushes and trolleys and all.
yeah. We were
Yeah,
lucky enough to have someone who had a video camera, and I just enjoyed filming everything because I didn't really want to get involved with the stunts. So
yeah, yeah.
that's kind of how I got into making videos. And then we'd make short films, like and edit them on a VCR, like and transfer the tapes and like doing hard edits like that.
Yeah.
And then YouTube came along, and I started making videos using the equipment from Swan Youth Club, and yeah, it just kind of developed from there. Like, and then eventually I start making the wind up merchants. Like, it never fizzled out. My enthusiasm for making videos never
Yeah.
fizzled out,
Yeah.
even though it did for a lot of people around me. I was just like, I'd love to fucking do this all the time, or like make a career out of it or something. This would be great to do as a
Yeah.
job, you know?
Yeah, I love that, man. Yeah, it's mad, and it's mad that you got it. Like you were just saying, from a young age, you know, you morphed into this kind of character because you thought that's what the lads wanted you to be, and I could identify a lot with that. You know, when I was very young, you know, I suppose as I was, I didn't feel good enough. So if we started playing this certain character, I thought then you'd like me, you'd approve of me, you laugh at me,
Mm,
you know. And I remember one time going down with the lads drinking. And just on the way home, I remember that because I always used to feel different. I always really struggled to fit in and things like that. And I remember one time on the way home, I climbed into this wheelie bin. I was drunk, like it was only 14 or 15. And the wheelie bin fell over. And all the lads ran over, laughing their heads off and picked me up and put their arm around me. And we're just like, Jesus, Colin, that was hilarious. You're a legend. Like, and I remember just this overwhelming feeling of finally I fit in, finally they accept me, finally I feel good enough. And it was mad. And straight away, I knew that if I act like this, I do this, then this is how I fit in. This is how I'll be accepted. And, you know, so straight away, we start playing these roles. Like, it's mad. As you said,
yeah.
for that bit of attention or for that bit of approval or, you know.
But that's group dynamics. I don't think that changes like that's obviously immature at a young age. But even as an adult, the group dynamics, you're still trying to find a way to fit in. I mean, it stops to a certain,
Yeah.
but in your career or in your job, if like people around the water cooler, if you will, like you're constantly trying to find an angle find your
Yeah.
place.
Like
Do you know what I mean?
you're always scanning the room. Like when you walk into the room, you're there kind of right, who's here, what role do I have to play? Like, and it's mad you say
Yeah,
that because it was there the other week. I was down to 44. It's just down with a few lads, and we're just all laughing, one or two of the lads, and just doing Jack the lad, and just being funny and all. And then straight away, someone walked up to me and goes, "Are you Colin? You do that mental health podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah." And straight away, I morphed into this like the mental health advocate from just having a
yeah,
crack with the lads. And then so I was like, what do you want me to be? I'll play that character, like the chameleon, like the lizard, just morphing
yes,
into all these, and it's mad how we just
yeah,
do it so quick, like, without even
yeah.
realizing.
I think even with the videos for me, like that kind of gives me an identity. Like, oh, you're your man that does the videos, and then I'm like, yeah, that's sure. Let's go with that. Like, you know what I mean? That's who
Yeah,
I am. Like, you know what I mean? At
yeah,
least you have a slot. Then, I mean, you might feel like a lot of different things, but you feel like, okay, yeah, that's something that I can fit into. Like, you're probably like, oh yeah, I'm the guy that does the podcast or whatever. It's just like a box that you can put yourself into. You're like, yeah, a package. You're just packaging yourself to sell yourself or be this person.
yeah. It's mad, isn't it?
If
It's
that
mad
makes
how
any sense. Yeah.
we just morph into all these different roles and characters, and I'm the football expert, or I'm the funny guy, or I'm the fucking mental health guy, or it's mad how we can
Mm.
just keep changing. It's like I'll do anything you want, just like me, just accept me, just let
Yeah,
me
yeah, yeah.
just and it's like that. I do that all the time. I don't even notice. And like like if you told me I wouldn't be the biggest fan of cricket, but if you told me you like cricket, man, I'd show up with me cricket bat and me fucking and me kid, like, you know what I mean? Just so you accept me, like, and it's mad how quick we can just because it was mad. I got asked onto this podcast the other day, and your man was like, well, I'll give you a bit of an introduction. What do you want me to say? Like, and I was thinking to myself, no matter what I say to him, like if I say to him, I'm in recovery, or I'm a sea dipper, or I'm an athlete, or I'm a podcast, whatever I say to him, I'll play to that tune. If I tell him I'm a goalkeeper, I'll come up with my goalie gloves, and if I tell him I'm a clown, I'll be there with me squeaky red nose. It's like whatever I tell him, I'll automatically morph into that identity. So it's mad how we just kind of, it's like we're constantly, oh, geez, what does Joe think of me? I want to morph into what does Joe think of me, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think it's interesting how we act in front of individual people. Like I say I have like 5 or 6 good close friends. You know what I mean? That you'd call, oh yeah, me mates. Like, you know what I
Mm,
mean? And not necessarily good friends, but like me mates. That's me circle.
mm,
And I'm a very different person in front of each different one. It's like, do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
I don't know if it's a different representation of me, or if I'm the same person and I'm just adapting to what their conversation style is or what their preferences are. I feel like I'm always the one that kind of, but that's probably internalizing. Everybody might feel the same way,
yeah,
but I feel like I'm changing my style of conversation to suit what they like and
yeah.
what they like, the energy that they have. Like I'm trying to adapt to their. Do you ever get that? Is that just
Yeah,
me?
no, 100%, man. I'm playing to their tune, what they expect, and like I'd find that even when days I'm feeling very low or down, it's like straight away when I'm around certain people, I have to go little you go straight away. You have to go into playing the character or the role, like even when you're not even feeling up to it. And I'd say you find that hard, like because you would obviously come from a comedy background, that people would automatically think, oh, this fella's hilarious, and then they're spending, hey, you're not that funny actually. What's the crack? Like, well, you're cracking jokes. I think Tommy Tiernan has this as a gag about
Yeah,
it, that people thinks that he wakes up in the morning. He's all this energy on the stage, and he wakes up in the morning on his in his family home. He's like, "Hi kids, hi wife," all this energy, and he's constantly
yeah,
top of the world, like. And would you ever feel like there's an expectation on you to be a certain way all of the time, and someone comes up to you on the street and goes, "Oh, you're that funny guy." Do you straight away have to form into this character? Would you ever find that difficult even when you're not feeling it?
yeah. I mean, like in general, like even yesterday, somebody came up and was like, "Oh, you're Joseph McGucken or whatever from the videos," and then I was like, "Yeah," and then I almost expect them to ask a question or something like, but then they're just like, "Ah." deadly. Like, and I'm like, I'll say something like, I don't know what, like, yeah, I am. I just feel uncomfortable now. Like, I don't mind people like talking to me or whatever, but the expectation to be funny, I was, so my son, when he was born, my first son Oliver, when he was born, there was complications at the start, and it was very scary, like touch and go at the beginning,
Jeez, okay.
and and I went downstairs to tell the Mrs. Man that was waiting in the hall, and as I was going in to see them, somebody came up to me, and I was like in a heap, like broken hearted. I was fucking destroyed, like. And then your man's like, "Oh, you're your man from the video." Like some young fella just came up to me like, "Oh, you're your man from the video." I was like, "Jeez, I love that bleeding with your mad thing you had." Like, and I was just like, I felt like saying, "Get the fuck away from me!" Right? Like he obviously didn't know what I was going
Yeah.
through, like, but I was just like, "Yeah," and I was cold, and so then eventually, like, he kind of backed off and left. But that was the most annoying moment
Yeah.
of somebody kind of coming up to me, and it's weird. Like, it's weird. You don't know what somebody's going through. Like, you know what I mean? That's why it's even weird at doing comedy, because, like you say, people do think that you're just like in a good mood or funny or just torn all the time,
Yeah,
and you're not.
yeah. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And it's like, I don't know if you ever seen that film Watchmen, and at the start of it, like, there's this opening scene, and this your man's in, it's talking to his therapist and says, "Look, I'm riddled with depression, I'm riddled with anxiety. You know, I don't know what to do, like, you know, and I've tried all these different things, and I just can't seem to find happiness in anything. You know, I just need something to cheer me up." And he goes, "What you need to do? There's this great clown and comedian in town at the moment. You should go and see him. He'll cheer you up, you know." And your man turns around and goes, "That's me." you, you know, like, you know, it's like, so. But it is, it's gas, isn't it? Like, what would you kind of use now? Like, say if you're getting days and you're feeling anxious or you're feeling a bit low, like, what sort of things would you use to kind of, I suppose, help with what you're going through, or help with your kind of mental health or things like that?
I think for me, having kids kind of give me a purpose and a drive and a good reason to kind of squash down the anxiety and stuff, like, because you're going to right. It's something that needs to get done, like taken care. It's not about myself. Like the shit. Whenever I'm feeling low or I'm feeling shit, uh, the missus would cheer me up. She's good. She's good therapy. Um, the kids. So just putting them before me would make me realize. Also, like, the kids just kind of make me realize how simple life can be. Like, they're just happy because they're just happy naturally. I
Mm,
feel like anxiety and stuff like that comes from, in like, it's like what too self-aware, what too aware of ourselves, and what putting so much pressure to achieve, or it just it come I think anxiety comes from inside. And if you just have a simple life, like when I was doing that Camino de Santiago, it was the most therapeutic thing for me, because it was just wake up and walk.
mm,
Simple. Like, that's the only thing you had to think about. You weren't thinking
yeah,
about like paying the rent, or like it was just a clear mind. It was a
yeah,
clear. I remember listening to Damien Dempsey. I can't remember what it was. I think it was in an interview, and he said that he'd done meditation, and the aim of meditation is to clear your mind entirely, like, have nothing in your mind, and that's called reaching chi. And if you reach that, like, just a clear mind completely, it's supposed to be euphoric, like, to stop your mind from thinking of anything. I
yeah.
mean, it sounds like being brain dead.
Just,
Like, if
just
you
being
could actually do that.
just being intensely present, like.
Mm,
Yeah, I love that, and I love what you said there. Just simple living, and you being around the kids, and There's something about, you know, when we start to kind of actually be more like kids. You look at kids out in the playground or just out messing, you know, and they're just in the moment and what they do. They're not worried about paying the
Yeah,
bills later or getting the dinner done or school tomorrow or whatever it is that all of us adults are worrying about. And as you said, we get to a stage there where we just start to take life so serious and we start to worry. We start to put expectations on ourselves. We start to be these perfectionists. We start to worry about what our people think of us, you know, and then we're just constantly in our heads, you know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
analyzing, you know, whereas kids are just kids and they're just being themselves and they're just being playful. And, you know, like I remember like hearing the stories with Carl Jung. It was this one of the world's top psychologists, and he said every day he'd go out to the garden and just play with sticks and whatever he could find, and just to be in a childlike state of flow. And he said
Mm,
it's great for triggering like creative flow. And you obviously know all about that. You know, being you do a lot of creative writing comedy sketches and things like that. Like you're in a childlike state when you're writing all that stuff. I suppose you're using your imagination. You're tapping into something childlike to
yeah.
when you're writing all them sketches. Like,
And it's amazing, man. When you do get into a create, like the hardest part about writing a sketch or writing any sort of script or writing at all in general is just starting. It's just like you can put it off for so long, but as soon as you start typing, like it just comes out of you. It's literally like a flow. Like your brain starts thinking. It's like trying to remember a dream. It's like
yeah,
once you start remembering, oh yeah, no, that shop was in it, and then you're like, oh, and then in that shop this was here, and he was there, and then before I was in the shop, and it's just like it triggers every thought triggers another thought,
yeah,
and it's great. It's the same with music as well. Like if you talk to a rapper, they'll say that like they'd say the same thing. Like once they write the first line, then the next line comes to them, and then like it creates itself almost. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean?
I love that, and that's like my creativity or my relationship with creativity is like the more I put it out there, the more of it we get. You know what I mean? And you, like I was saying at the start of the podcast, that comedy that you put out is cheering up so many people, and like creativity, like any lyric of a song that you ever seen, or any poem or any kind of picture that all started in someone's head, and then
Mm.
they just said, "Feck it, what's the difference between?" you doing the comedy and the next guy didn't. It's like you believed in yourself. You said, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna write it, and you put it out there, and then someone seen that and it cheered them up. And if you look at any form of entertainment out there, like like creativity elicits a dopamine reaction. So I look at your comedy and I start laughing, I think it's hilarious, and that automatically makes me feel good. But that wouldn't have made me feel good if you hadn't have said, right, I'm gonna put this on a bit of paper and I'm gonna publish it, you know. And it's like if we can just keep up there, and a lot of time we get that thing with that. It's a lot, I don't know if it's a low self-esteem or it's the inner critic or that perfectionism that we're terrified to put out our creativity or our art or whatever it is, because we're terrified what people think. Like, you know what I mean? Do you ever get things like that? Go, I'm not putting this out. He's gonna think I'm an idiot. I'm gonna look like a sap, you
Absolutely,
know?
yeah, yeah. It's I mean, self doubt. It's we constantly have self doubt, and it's just like, who cares what I have to say? When it's comedy, it's easy because it's just a cheap laugh. It feels like a throwaway laugh. It's just me doing a silly face and going blah blah blah, and then it's funny, like you know what I mean. And then it's a cheap laugh and it's gone. It's thrown away. That's what a sketch is, like you know what I mean. It
Yeah.
feels like it's just something that and like if you were a painter, a sketch would be something that you just scribbled. A sketch would be a sketch, something that you
Mm.
scribbled on a piece of paper and you threw away. That's kind of what comedy sketch is almost seen as. It's not how I feel. I love every little piece that I make, and I imagine it all being in one big sketch show, like when I'm creating it. But it's so easy to self doubt yourself and say, "Ah, that's bleeding not good." Or, who cares what I have to say? If it's especially if it's like something like I before I was coming on this podcast, I was like, who gives a fuck what I have to say about mental health? Like, who am I to talk about it? You know what I mean? And you could constantly question your value with
Mm.
anything that you do. There's funnier people than me out there. Doesn't mean that I shouldn't do funny things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's mad that we have that inner critic that we're like, like I have to watch that every day, that because I have that inner voice that will constantly put me down, no matter what I'm doing or how I'm doing it. It'll always go, this
I
isn't good
lost you
enough."
there, Colin. Sorry.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back. You're back. Was that me
Yeah.
or you?
No,
I
it
think
could have been
it's
me.
mine.
Sometimes the Wi-Fi is a bit dodgy. What I'll do, I'll knock my camera off for a minute just till the connection gets a bit stronger, and I'll knock it back on. Usually, if the connection's off, they say just to knock the camera off. Can you hear me, bit? Can you hear me now? Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah,
Cool. What
yeah.
was a shite out of me?
No, don't worry about that, man. We could I'll let all that stuff out. But yeah, man, it's mad. We can have that inner critic in our heads, that can rip us apart. It just be so vicious, like And I definitely have that inner perfectionist, like you know what I mean. That no matter what I do, or no matter how I look or how I talk, or even listening back to some of my podcasts, be cringing, going, "Oh, you didn't say that," and it's mad just the how vicious we can be to ourselves, like you know what I mean. And I've just learned to not listen to that inner critic, or that inner voice that we have, you know what I mean? Because we put so much effort to surround ourselves with positive people, but what we don't realize is that it's that inner voice that we have. And as soon as we start to listen to that inner voice, that inner critic, you know, that's where the battle is. Like, you know what I mean? That voice that tell you, "Oh,
Mm,
you're no good," or the work you're doing is not good enough. And we can set these unrealistic expectations in ourselves. And these, I heard someone say, what's an abbreviation for fear is future, or sorry, false expectations appearing real, that we're setting all these mad expectations on ourselves. And since I was young, I remember being such an over the top high achiever or perfectionist, because look, we were talking about at the start, I had a really low opinion of myself as a kid, just this natural default state, low opinion in myself. So I spent my whole life trying to prove myself, or trying to prove my worth, you know what I mean? And so anything I done, I had to be the best at it. And if I wasn't the best, I was the worst at it, you know what I mean? So getting into sport, or getting into no matter what I done, I was always trying to become something so I'd be worthy or lovable, like, And
mm.
especially when I got into like the likes of creativity or even jobs, that inner critic would always be at the back of my head saying, "Oh, this isn't good enough. You're not good enough." Just follow me around everywhere. I'd be the type of guy I'd score a hat trick playing football, but I'd be at home beating myself up over that one shot that hit the post, like, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
someone done the stuff I done, I'd be like, "Oh, fair play to you," patting the back. But if it was me, I'd be like, you could have done a lot better, like, and it wasn't
Yeah.
until I started to kind of see that voice and be like, I don't have to listen to that inner critic. I don't have to, and as you said, to be more in the moment and being more in the present. And when I shut off that mind, always feel a lot better.
Mm. It's weird, yeah. You can forget about the achievements that you done and then just focus on the things that you didn't do a lot more than you can on your achievements. It's bizarre, really.
Yeah, it's mad. And how would you like if you when you put something out and say someone said something negative, or you got a negative throwaway comment on Facebook or Instagram, would that bother you, like when someone says something, say would someone would criticize your work or something like that? How would you deal with that?
No, I think it's funny. I think if somebody can watch your stuff and be so bothered by, so affected by it, that they comment something nasty, that I mean, I'd feel sorry for anybody who has that. I would never comment that somebody's stuff is shit. Even if I thought it was shit, I just wouldn't watch it again. I just wouldn't go back to it. Like, you wouldn't keep watching fucking Virgin Media, Ireland AM say this is shy for 3 hours. Like, this is crap. Like, you wouldn't keep doing that. You wouldn't
Yeah,
keep going back. Like, don't change the channel then. Like, think
yeah,
it's shy, don't watch it. So I find it funny. I find it funny when people slag the work. There was one comment where somebody slagged me physical appearance, and it kind of hurt, because that's not even about the work. That's just about me. That's just
yeah.
someone's opinion about my appearance that I can't change unless I get surgery or something. Like, it's a real physical kind of nasty nasty
Yeah,
thing to say, you know?
yeah, it's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I remember someone saying to me before, hoard people. You know what I mean? It's like when someone themselves is going through something, like if you were to meet a guy in the street that's angry or rude, the chances are that he's suffering on the inside, that he's a lot of stuff that he's carrying around. It's like if you've seen a dog with a splinter in his foot, like he's out of character, he's biting people or he's barking at people. I wonder what's wrong with him. But when you actually examine it a bit more, you see that he's going around with this splinter in his foot. And I know even a lot of people that I know that mightn't be in great places, they can project that onto other people. And a lot
Mm.
of these kind of people that you might meet on social media that are quite vicious or cruel, or even bullies, man. You always see how cliche the bully has a lot of shit going on at home, and
Yeah.
that helped me always have a bit of compassion. That if we ever get any negative comments or things like that, or just in general, that's always someone is going through their own kind of turmoil or their own stuff, you know what I mean? That you never really
Yeah.
know what people are going through. And that always gave me a bit of compassion, because my first response, how you can react, what are you saying about, and you can react.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Rather
Yeah.
than, but if you like, I find that one of the best tools I've learned over years, and I can't remember who told me this though, but he said that before he reacts to anything, he just counts to 10. And then when he does that 10-second gap in the second, it could be around family or friends or in out in Tesco or in the traffic jam, and someone sets him off or annoys him, his first response is to react. But then if he counts to 10, he doesn't react, he responds. And usually when he responds, he feels a lot better, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I disagree with you a little bit. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think it's an old-fashioned cliche that hoard people hoard people.
Mm.
I think it's true. I think hoard people. I think bullies are most of the time people that are hoard themselves. But I think online bored people hoard people. I think it's just people that are
Yeah.
bored and they're just looking for engagement. And content creators, are more likely to engage with negative comments than they are with positive comments. Like if you went on Justin Bieber's Twitter, I don't know, this is not a good example, but if you went on Justin Bieber's Twitter, he'd probably get 100,000 positive comments of people saying, "I love you, marry me, have me fucking babies," and then one fellow would say, "You're a piece of shit, you're crap, you can't sing, you're talentless," and like he'd respond to that first.
Yeah.
Only like he wouldn't respond to the hundred thousands of positive comments. Like, so it's the negative ones that get the engagement and that's all they're looking for. I find is the
Yeah.
interaction, and they're looking especially online.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad you say that, because I was reading this article recently, and it was actually about the Cambridge Analytical scandal. But they done all this data analysis, and what they found that people are going to engage with your content a lot more if it sets them off, or if they find it upsetting. Like if I was to go on to say a Liverpool fan page and write a comment saying, "No, Liverpool are great." If he gets a few likes and people stroll on. But if I went onto a Liverpool fan page and said, Liverpool are shite, you're the best team ever, the amount of engagement that's going to get, you know what I mean? The amount of people are going
Yeah,
to comment on it and like it. And, it's mad. And then this article goes into talk about journalism and how, like, the media fuels how people are more engaged in a negative comment than they are, or negative news headline than a positive. If you were strolling down, you seen, or me fucking nanny wins the lotto, you're like, oh, go for her, like, and you keep scrolling. Have you seen a thing saying, "Oh, me nanny was kidnapped by up the road from where they live"? You go, "Geez, what's the details of this?"
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
straight away the negativity, and then that's where the news always goes with the negative headlines. That because it's just more people are going to engage with it more, And then when I was out to see that, then I was kind of like, right, I don't have to take all the news as gospel, and try not to kind of indulge in it too much, you know what I mean? Because it
mm,
does, when I suppose, wrapping my head around all that negativity all the time, it does kind of affect me a bit,
yeah. I mean, Katie Hopkins has made a living out of it.
Yeah,
Just being a troll, and lots of other people as well. But that's all just clickbait shit, and that's a problem as well when people are on their phones so much. Um,
yeah.
I know I shouldn't be slagging social media and stuff because I'm on it constantly, like making videos and stuff, and I want people to look at the videos. But
do a video
like,
blog about being on social media.
I actually seen a video. It was really good. It was like I think it's a few years old now. It's a cartoon, and it's kind of like a piece about everyone's stuck into their phones, and like this kid is trying to get everyone's attention, and it's just going through this. You're probably seeing it, but I just find it interesting that that has like 100 million views on social media. Like the irony, like I
Mm,
wonder if I wonder what the creators think of the irony of that video.
yeah,
Like they made a video slagging social media that just went viral on social media.
yeah, yeah,
But there's so
yeah,
much clickbait on social media. Like you can't scroll two posts without seeing something trying to grab your attention. It's like walking through the Jervis and there being 10 salespeople trying to fucking grab you into the shop. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
You couldn't do it. You wouldn't enjoy it. You'd walk out of the Jervis then, wouldn't you? Like, so I think that's the same thing with social media. You need to like pop in, get what you need, run in, get what you need, and fuck
Get
off.
out,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
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 don't be going into shops you don't need it. Don't be going on the pages you don't need to be going into.
yeah,
You've bought enough. No, yeah, yeah. No, 100%, man. But like that's the thing, and as you said there, it's like it's just the boredom, isn't it? You're sitting on your phone, and it gets to a stage where you're sacrificing your life experience to improve your, I suppose, social media life. You know what I mean? But it should be the other way around. We should be sacrificing our social media life to improve our actual life experience. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like I suppose it's like what happens in between those photos that we put up that can kind of
mm,
that means the most, like, you know what I mean? That you know, me being a sea dipper, you know, we're like the vegans of the sea dipping society of societies. Like, do you know what a grafting tree is? No, but I get in the sea every day for the sunrise, living a simple life, grateful for the simple things. But it's like that thing with you know, rather than just being in the moment, you know, straight away, the habit is to get out the phone and put the picture up on Instagram. And I know I can be a devil for that. And I've started to catch myself now, just being more in the moment and more in the present. That I don't need to throw it up me up on me Instagram every time. You know, just be more in the
yeah,
moment. And even when I'm around family or around friends, you know, just to leave the phone in the pocket. Because I find that even if I take my phone out to see what time it is, I take it out and then I go on to my emails and check my Instagram, then my Facebook, and then, you know, Twitter or whatever. And then I'm like about 10, 15 minutes. And what you notice, man, when you take out your phone, it's like yawning. But people see you taking out your phone and the guy beside you takes out his phone, and the other, then, you know, and everyone that's sitting at the table has their phone out, and straight away
yeah.
it's like, you know what I mean? And it's just that getting over our, I suppose, unlearning habits. That's the hard thing. You know what I mean? That's our natural habits. Like, oh, where's my phone? Phone's gone there. Quick, I need a charger. Like, you know, rather
Yeah.
than just saying, do we need it that badly? Like, you know what I mean? But again, it's just habit. You know?
It's a horrible. I don't do it, man. I'm like that sounds like kind of cunty, but it's like I don't do it. I'm rarely on my phone. Like I make video. Like I don't really post personal stuff. I post me comedy sketches and stuff. If I actually work as a social media executive for a betting company, like, and that's I spend enough time doing that on social media that I don't,
Yeah,
I don't like going back. I don't like going back to it for my own stuff, and it's weird. It's kind of to my own self detriment as well because I could be putting out more content, but for who, for what? Like
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's
No,
just so weird.
yeah, but that's the thing. And see, the problem is like, would you ever feel when you put out content, you are obviously being a creator, you this would impact you. But do you ever like put out content and then be terrified that it doesn't get the response that you wanted, or doesn't get the amount of likes or the engagement, or do you ever feel the need to want to delete it or take it back down again after you put something out?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, yeah. I mean, with tweets and stuff, it's very easy to create, and so it's very easy to delete. But with a
Mm,
sketch, you've put a lot of effort and energy and time into making it. So, and if it doesn't do well, it feels hard. It's a lot harder to take that down. But it
yeah,
hurts even more than when you see that it's not getting the engagement, and you feel like it should get more engagement. It's a really frustrating feeling.
yeah, 100%.
It's almost the opposite of self doubt. There's a self confidence like that you think that something should be doing better, and it's
Mm,
not, and that's even more frustrating. Do you know that it's not
mm.
even more frustrating, but it's equally as frustrating. And yeah, and then you want to take it down. You're like, should I just fucking take this down? And you're like, I know I'm at the making it. I'll just leave it up anyway. And
Yeah.
And some people will think that it's like their favorite piece of content. They'll say that's my favorite video, but like nobody, like it's just unshareable. It's just not
Yeah, no, I get.
conducive to the social media kind of
Yeah.
virality. And
It's mad, but like that, I think when you realize that even with the stuff you put out, or even maybe your personality or who you are as a person, what I've come to realize that not everyone is gonna like it, and not everyone's gonna like your content, and not everyone's gonna like your personality. Like like some people like steak, some people like lobster, and I was like that guy. I was that guy with low self-esteem. I'd walk into a pub and there'd be 100 people in the pub, and 99 of them adore me, and that one guy that doesn't, that be the lad that I'd be obsessed about for the night. He's like, why doesn't he like me? But what did I do? And then like, and it's mad that trying to people please, and it's, as you we were talking about
mm,
the childhood stuff again. It's like, why doesn't he like me? And we go out of our way to try get approval or please accept me, sort of thing. And that's the thing with the net. If you have, like you were talking about the Justin Bieber thing, you have a million positive comments and one negative. The negative thing can stick out all the time, but then we realize that look, not everyone's gonna like your stuff, Say if like even like if 99% of the world doesn't find it attractive and 1% does, that's still what 75 million people that find it attractive, like 1% of the
yeah.
population. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's mad that we can just put the spotlight over the negative,
Mm, yeah, it is. It is, Matt.
where the head can just go on to that kind of that so it's that self critical thing. Like it's mad. And would you have like a ritual for like creativity? Like where would your creative spark come from? Like when you're writing sketches and things like that. Like could just be on the bus and you get a funny thought, or do you like when you're out with the kids, or are you sitting down actively trying to think of something? Like where does your creative flow come from?
Usually walking. Um, I feel lately I've hit a little bit of uh, a writer's block, a little bit, but it helps when I'm walking. And like I said, when I'm walking, I feel like it's so easy to just focus on your steps and
Mm,
your mind. The clutter in your mind will just kind of dissipate if you're on a walk long enough,
yeah.
and then your mind starts racing, and you're just kind of thinking of stuff, whether it's a comedy sketch or whether it's a song or like whatever it might be. Don't listen to headphones, don't listen to music, just walk. And that's when I've kind of come up with a lot of um, my creative stuff, like sketches and short films and stuff like that. Is when I've been on a walk, um, or when my mind is clear, I just find walking is the clearest way to clear your mind. But if you sat down and played the PlayStation for a day, like that's almost like meditation. That would clear your mind.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like you wouldn't get a lot out of it. But whenever I don't know, the latest sketch that I done, did you see it with Killian Sunderman and Darren Conway?
Is that the one
And
where you're he's doing the hippie thing? What is it? The
yeah, he's just
the
kind of slagging
hipster?
the hippie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah.
was that was brilliant. Yeah, get up
So
there. What was it you were
yeah,
saying?
yeah, get up there a bit.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So I came up with that idea just because I like Killian's style and I like Darren's style, and I find that both very different. So I just thought it would work really well, those two styles together. And I was just trying to think of a scenario that would work well together. And I was happy then when I came up with that idea then. Do you know what I mean? So if it's not if it's not a creative, if it's not a brand new, well, it is a brand new idea, but if it's not just an idea, well, then I like looking at people that I think are funny and trying to think of ideas for them. Because
Mm.
I don't think I could have played that character. And there's some characters that I don't think I could play. So I like getting the best out of people that I'm a fan of. And I love working with other people then to do stuff like that.
I love that. And would you find that very satisfying? The fact that that came from your head, your thoughts, you put that on paper, and then you constructed it. You made that happen, and now it's out there. Would that be a very satisfying feeling for you?
It's very weird when you have an idea in your head and you see the finished product.
It's like your
It's
baby.
it's weird. Yeah, it's weird because I can literally picture a sketch in my head. There's one sketch that I done years ago. I done a sketch about the Lewis drivers going on strike, and that came out exactly how I had planned it in my head. Minus a few people. I kind of wanted a bigger classroom, but it's mad to think of an idea that I had walking to work, and then I wrote it down on my break. I wrote the script on my break, and then the next day, because it was so topical, I went and I got the location like the next day, and then shot it the day after, and then had it out like that evening. So like within 3 days, I had this idea and I had a finished product, and it done really well, and it looked really well, and it was just great to see. It's great to see something that's in your head actually out in the world.
I love that. Yeah. And did you ever get any ideas that you never followed through with that you regret?
Yeah, I mean, not that I regret. Like, I feel like I'll get around to doing them. Like, I have a script for a pilot TV show that I have about 2-3 years now, and I'm just waiting for that to cook.
Brilliant.
I don't, you know what I mean? I'm just waiting for that the right moment to kind of get that made or make it, or waiting for a clear run.
Yeah, and
in me schedule, or I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I'm waiting for something to click.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, I get you, bro. Yeah. And is that like next on the horizon now? You want to get into like comedy writing, like writing maybe for TV series or films or things like that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the dream, man. I'd love to write for TV. I mean, I'd love to write a sketch show, and like I said, I have that. Yeah, no, I have a few ideas cooking. Like, there's a few decent things that are in the pipeline that are bigger than just sketches online. But yeah, definitely.
And what advice would you give to someone? Say if someone out there now that they having all these good sketches, or they've really good ideas and just have a creative mind, but they're just terrified of putting stuff out there. They're terrified from what lads think. Because you think if you're a bunch of lads and you're just having a laugh and joke, the next thing you always get the idea, oh, just look at this fella. Who's this lad thinks he is? Thinks he's a stand-up comedian now all of a sudden. You know, we said doing everyone else is thinking, and we're terrified then to put stuff out. Like, what advice would you give to someone to say if they're creative with their poetry or with their comedy or creative writing or whatever it may be? I know TikTok now is brilliant because it has helped a lot of people to kind of stand out there. But I know, particularly with my brother is one of the funniest people I know, but he's a really old school dub, and he'd be terrified if he just started putting out comedy stuff, like, you know what I mean? Because what the lads think, like. So what advice would you give to someone to kind of give them that kind of bit of a boost to go out and put out their content?
Yeah. Well, I'm the same as you. My brother is very funny, a lot funnier than I am, but he'd never open a TikTok account and like start filming himself. And he always has ideas, and he's like, why don't you do this? And I'm like, well, why don't you write it down and do it? Like, so my advice would be to anyone who wants to do it, just fucking do it. Like, do it. Just bleeding make shit. I used to work with I used to work in a TV station, and everybody in there was like a filmmaker, was like, oh, I have this script that I'm working on. And I'm like, fucking make it then. What are you waiting on? Like, you know what I mean? Come on, just fucking, like, you can do anything now. You can make anything. You can do it with your phone. You can make it. Just go out and fucking do it. Like, what are you waiting on?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And if it's shy, it's shy, whatever. Like, who cares? The worst case scenario is you make something that's shy, grand, and then you can move on from it, and you can at least it's done. That's what my advice would be.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's like that. I think I've seen it somewhere on Reddit or something like that. Someone asked Stephen King, has he got any advice for writing a novel? And he just says, just do it. Just start, you know?
Yeah. Stephen King has a book about writing, and it's like, what's the 4th step? Just start writing. Just write. Like, that's what I was saying at the start of this. Just once you start writing, then things start happening. Things come into your head. Like, the scenario is playing out in front of you on the page or on the screen in front of you. And so you're not thinking, oh, what's this whole story? That part of the story is already down. And then you can see that, and then you can build around that. It just happens then, like.
No, 100%, man. It's mad, and procrastination can be another one as well. You know, we can keep putting it off, and you know, it's like that old joke. I bought a book on procrastination. I still haven't read it yet, but I can definitely fall victim to that as well. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But and would you use creativity now as a way, I suppose, as articulating feelings or emotions or things like that? Like, do you ever find like just journaling or writing comedy just a bit therapeutic?
No, not with comedy. I don't think. Like, yeah, I think when I'm writing me comedy, I mean, I find it therapeutic, but I don't uh, lay, I don't lay me feelings out in the scene or anything like that.
Yeah.
But if I was doing a bit of acting, like I do a little bit of acting, if I got a gig where I needed to tap into a certain emotion, it would help in that situation.
Yeah, I love that. Now, the reason I ask that is because they say a lot of creative intellects tend to be the most anxious people, because when you're creative creating them or so sketches, we can also create a lot of problems in our heads that don't exist. You know what I mean? It's like that. False evidence appearing real, the fear thing, like, that where all these million problems coming through our head, or there's a fucking bill on the door, or it's an eviction notice, or there's a missed phone call, or who's after dying. We can always think of these mad scenarios, and then with them scenarios comes the emotion with it as well. Like, do you ever feel overwhelmed by your thoughts at any time?
In general, or
Yeah,
during the process of writing or
no,
whatever.
just in general, like.
In general, yeah, all the time. I mean, like there's always a sense of inadequacy, I think, which
Yeah,
is kind of an insecurity as well, but just that I'm not. There's an embarrassment as well. um Recently, like this year, I've kind of started making a bit of a career out of making comedy, but before that it was like embarrassing. Like, are you still making them videos? Like, and me Mrs.'s ma, she started seeing one or two of them, and then it was like, now I know she's looking at them, and that was throwing me off as well. And
mm,
like the anxiety that I was getting, like just knowing I that the kids would grow up and they'd see that I was just making stupid comedy sketches, and I felt a bit, it just felt a bit stupid sometimes.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Does that make any
Yeah,
sense?
100%. And see, but the funny thing about that is, man, that you're the only one that thought all that. Like, no one went up and said to you that. You just assumed that's what the ma, your girlfriend's ma was thinking, and what your kids would think down the line.
No, she said it to me. No, 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 no. Like, it was something about cocaine. I made a joke about cocaine, and she went, Joe, I don't think you should make jokes about cocaine. And I was like, oh, it's not for you. You shouldn't be looking at that. Like,
Oh, fair, yeah, yeah.
uh,
But I think we can be hard on ourselves though, because I look at you and I think you're a genius, like with them sketches and all, like, and they're brilliant, like, but at the same time we can find it hard to give ourselves that bit of credit, and it can be like a low self-esteem thing, like, that if someone else was doing
yeah,
what we're doing, we're like, oh, geez, that's amazing, fair play. But when we start doing it, we can start to pick all the holes and the faculties in it, and rather than just embracing it and saying, hey, do you know what, I'm actually happy with this bit of work or what I'm doing, like.
yeah. But you're always looking at somebody else. I mean, it's lovely you saying that, and I appreciate it. But like, you'll also say, well, if I was that fucking good, wouldn't I be like making a TV show already, or would I not be in RTA? Like, I know there's other like things, cogs in the wheel that could be preventing that or whatever, but there's always like there is always doubts and excuses that spring up, and looking at other people making comedy and then they're taking off, and you're like, why the fuck is my shit not taking off? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the
The
fact is,
comparison.
yeah, yeah, no, it is. But we can look at both ends of the ladder. Like, we can keep looking up the ladder and comparing and going, like, it's like the guy in the Ferrari is fucking hasn't got the helicopter, or the guy at the bus stop's jealous of the guy in the Ferrari, and the guy in the wheelchair is jealous of the lad standing at the bus stop, and the guy in his deathbed's jealous of the lad in his wheelchair. There's
Yeah,
always two ways to look at it, like, and yeah, 100% we can keep comparing ourselves, but like the thing I see, man, but the thing about your content is that it's original, that no one else has put out what you put out, and it's like that you got a thought, you got a creative thought, and you put it out there, and yours is unique. There's nothing else ever going to come out with that's going to be like that, and that's what I love about original creativity. is that like there's nothing else like it. It's so unique, and it's just to keep endeavoring, man. You like the fact that you put it out there and you have a creative mind, that it's only a matter of time before this stuff takes off. And it's not only that, it's inspiring people as well, and it's cheering people up. And I think when we change our gauge and our motives a bit and realize that look, it's benefiting me and it's benefiting other people, you know, that eventually like that's the good. And look, if it takes off, then happy days. And if not, I believed in myself, you know, I believed in myself enough to follow through with this, you know, and I gave it a shot.
Mm,
And feck it, if it didn't take off, at least I can say I done it and I tried it, like, you know,
yeah.
which is the important thing. But like again, we can always be real hard on ourselves too as well, like, you know. And what
Yeah,
like
it's only comedy sketches anyway, isn't
yeah, yeah,
it?
that's it, bro. And like what apart like where would you like to see yourself in a few years' time with the comedy?
Oh, I mean, I'm very go with the flow. I don't know. I mean, comedy in general is so uncertain at the minute. Like a stand-up comedy is like dead in the water because of the COVID.
Have you
So
ever
there's a
done
lot of
stand up?
yeah. I done a bit of stand-up. I mean, if you want to talk about anxiety, Jesus Christ, like I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I stopped doing it because I didn't get the satisfaction. People say they do stand-up comedy and they come off and they feel like, fuck yeah, that feels good. I want to go up and do that again. Like they get a buzz off it. I just
Yeah,
got relief. I was like, when I came off the stage, I was like, thank fuck that's over. Oh Jesus Christ. And then it'd be like on to the next one, and it'd be the anxiety, like because I'd try tailor me material to wherever I was doing it, if it was the international or if it was the halfpenny or if it was wherever, anywhere.
yeah,
I'd try tailor like, and if there was something happening, like I try make it relevant and topical as well. So I'd constantly be developing me content before the show, and that gave me anxiety. It was nothing was ever tested. That's not the best way to do it. Like the way I was doing it was wrong. Like I should be
yeah.
just doing shit that was timeless, like that I could just spin out every. But then I didn't get any satisfaction out of that. Like I think the idea of doing the same thing over and over is so unsatisfying.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I
that
mean?
yeah, but that's the thing about comedy. You could have one set in like the international bar, and it could be bring the house down. Everyone thinks hilarious, and then you could do the exact same set up in the Halfpenny and different crowd, and like no one laughs at all, and you're like, you know what I mean. So again, it's about reading so I was reading the crowd and things like that, like, you know. And it is
Yeah.
like I find the thing about stand up as well. The worst part about it is the anxiety before you get up. And then as soon as you're up there, it's like the relief you get. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's over now. But it's like the minute or two, and your man's calling out your name, and then you're like, Jesus. And the next thing you're up there, and like that, you just go into a flow state, and you don't even know what's coming out half the time. Like, you know.
Do you do stand up, Colin?
I done it a few years ago. Yeah, I done it a few
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah, yeah. I done the national bar, and I done the halfpenny as well. And yeah, I like that. I like that. I just write like that. Just writing stuff that came to me, and then I just remember like with 2 minutes before going up on the stage, being like, "Why the fuck am I? What am I doing here? Why am I doing this?" It's like sometimes getting into the sea, man. You're just like, "What the fuck am I doing? Like, why am
Yeah,
I
yeah,
doing
yeah,
this to myself?" And then as soon as you do it, you get that relief. And then after, you're like, I won't do that again. That was unreal, like, you know. And it's like, and then it's the exact same cycle. A couple of minutes before you go up, you're like, why the
yeah.
fuck am I doing this to myself? Like, you know.
I didn't get that buzz coming off the stage. I'd be just like, oh, thank fuck that's over. Like, I can go home now and relax. Like, it was just like
Okay.
anxiety built up, and then it was just, yeah, no, I didn't get the
Yeah.
satisfaction. And again, maybe it would have been easier if I just wrote me set and just had it solidified and just churned that out at every gig.
Yeah.
Like,
I suppose writing the comedy is a lot less intense. Like, you know, that you're kind of more relaxed. You're doing it in your own time. You have a bit more time to think and create. Like, you know what I mean. Whereas when you're doing the stand up, it's intense. You know, it's like the crowd, the bar. You know, it's over in a flashlight and you're back down. where I think when you're actually writing comedy, and like you are, you know, doing the sketches and that, there's a bit more. You're thinking, what next? He's gonna walk into the room and say that she'll jump out, you know, and you're building this thing in your head, like, you know.
Yeah, yeah. But it's still, it is knowing your audience and knowing what people will like
Yeah,
what will work, like if you say this or if you say that, and like what will resonate with the audience. And
yeah,
that's the good thing about writing comedy sketches is you can be colloquial. You can say you big hippie black hole son, like you can say all these things. Um and people from the area and around Dublin will get it. Whereas if you said that and on stage and those like Brazilians and Italians and Americans in the audience, they'd be like, "What the fuck is he talking about?"
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know
That's
what I mean? So
mad.
there's a
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a
It's so true. It was. I remember that it was in America. It was backpacking in America, and a mate that lives over there, and he was doing this wellness seminar about just about wellness and meditation, things like that. And he knew I was in town. He asked me to come and speak at it, you know, just about fucking wellness and giving up the drink and things like that. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. I will go into this thing, and I'm freaking out in my head, going, I don't want to do this fucking talk. And we had about 20 coffees in, man. I'm up on the stage, I'm nearly rattling. And so I just get up and I start talking. And I see everyone up in the front row, you know, leaning forward and being really engaging with me and shaking their heads and all, nodding like. And in my head, then I think I'm doing a fucking TED Talks. And then when the thing finished, you know, it was a Q&A. And your man was like, has anyone got any questions for Colin? And it was just like a silence for like 10 minutes. It was real cringy. So I was just like, asked the lad in the front row, here, man, did you have a question? And he's just like, I didn't hear a goddamn thing you just said, but I love your accent, man. I was like, shit. Yeah.
I was in America, and some American heard me talking, and she goes, "I love your brogue," and I was like, "You like me shoes?"
Oh, stop. Yeah. That's a great thing about traveling. Like, we've ever been in hostels in Asia and people are like, oh, you can talk Irish. Say something in Irish. Like, I'm actually fluent. People in Ireland barely speak English, you know. We're all fluent in Irish. Like say something in Irish. Like, I smart alone, Corker Millish. August Banya, and that means may you have the courage of 100 Celtic Irish warriors. You know, you're like, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, oh,
Jeez, we get away with more of that, don't we?
yeah. But I think that's a great thing when you're Irish and you're traveling and things like that. It's like people are just fond of you. Like, this fella's a bit of crack, like, you know. And it is
Yeah.
one thing about being Irish, and I noticed. I didn't even notice at the weekend. I was in doing a bit of in with the home, doing a bit of volunteer work with the homeless, and just the crack and the humor that we can find, even in the most dire situations. And I even
Mm,
find that even with family things, going up to a funeral, like, man, I tell you, some of the most funniest um things I've ever been to have been funerals. So people up doing the eulogy and just taking the piss out of people. And it's just hilarious. But it's like finding humor in the most dire situations. And it's such
yeah,
an Irishism, like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
What's the humor here? You know what I mean? And I always find that a great tool for mental health is that to be able to laugh at yourself. And sometimes shit can get so overwhelming that you have no choice but to fucking laugh and just say, right, what's the joke in this? Like, you know what I
yeah.
mean?
Funerals are great crack. Like a bit. At the are though. Yeah. My outfla passed away a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
Like
really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But like at the like people just couldn't wait for the afters. They were like, let's just bleed. But like, it's so hard. Like the funeral, the wake, the going to the crematorium. It's so bleeding heart wrenching. But like once you walk out and it's all over, and you can just kind of have a drink. I know you don't drink, but like if you can just have a drink and then everyone just comes together and there's just like this sigh of not relief, but just
Yeah, yeah,
that's done with
yeah,
now. Come on, we have a laugh here for fuck's sake. Like, and it's just like you can just kind of have a laugh. Then it's not about the
yeah,
morbidity of it. It's just about and as well, families don't come together that often,
yeah,
so it's really nice to have what's it like weddings and funerals.
yeah,
It's the only
yeah.
time
You
it
get
used
the
to
whole
be
family
Christmas, but
together. Yeah.
yeah,
Jeez, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Didn't know your dad passed away only a few weeks ago?
Yeah, yeah. He had a stroke. He had a couple of strokes, small strokes. He had like small blades around the brain, and then he had a bad one then about 6, 7 months ago, and he was in hospital, and then he went to a care home, and then 2 days later, he passed away. Yeah,
Sorry to
yeah,
hear that, brother. Yeah, you
yeah.
know,
Nice one.
the reason I'm saying that with the funeral, like the humor. I remember my dad before he passed away. He's uh he's um he's about a year and a half past now. But he really bad diabetes, and he actually got his legs amputated. And I remember when he got his legs amputated, and we wheeled him into the pub to see his friends. And the lad, like all his mates, haven't seen him in a while. And they all when he didn't walk in. He was on the we wheeled him in the wheelchair, and everyone looked at him and were like, Jesus, like he didn't know what to say to him, and everyone just went quiet, real, like, Jesus, what do we even say here? How can we show like empathy here, like, and one of his
Yeah,
friends
yeah,
came
yeah.
up to him and said, how you make him? Jesus, I'm so sorry what happened. And he says, John, come here. This was it. I need to tell you something. He goes, what? Do you know anyone wanting to buy a few pairs of shoes off me? Do you? And I mean that was just my dad's sense of humor.
Yeah,
He always just found the humor and everything. And there was so many jokes. Like, and there was even with me ma, when my dad got divorced a few years ago. I mean, my dad rang me ma. I was like, I always knew that divorce would cost you an arm and a leg in the end, like, and yeah, it's
wow.
mad. And I remember when he passed away, my brother done the eulogy, and so we were saying earlier on, just my brother being funny, and the whole place was just in ruptures. My brother just ripped the piss out of me dad for the life that he had, my dad had, and just seeing the funny side of it, and even the priest and all was in ruptures of laughter, and like. And that's what like that's why I think humor is so important. You know what I mean? To be
Mm,
able to like, there's no better connection like than like just to go up and be able to have a laugh with your mates and be able to see the funny in something, and not to take everything so serious after a while, that we can just be
mm,
able to say, geez, I'm not as serious as I think I am, to try and find the bit of humor. And I think that sometimes when I start to take myself too serious and life too serious, and I start to question where I am, that's when I can start to feel me head getting a bit of a wobble. But when I can just laugh at myself and just realize, look, everything's just as it's meant to be, like, you know what I mean? I just see the funny in
yeah.
things. But again, that can be hard, like, I suppose, when you're going through tough times, like.
Yeah, I mean, in the right context and around the right people, it works, which isn't always easy.
Mm.
But it's like laughing is the first thing you do as a baby. Well, crying is, but then once you get over the crying, like they just fucking laugh. Once you're fed and winded, they're just
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
there. They're just sitting there with a fucking smile on their face, like
It's
just
simple.
laughing and at nothing, like
It's
which is just
simple.
yeah,
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 simple living, man. Living like a kid. Once you're entertained, you're fed, and you're changed, man, and you're cuddled. You're happy out.
yeah, yeah. The life, man. Jesus, the life.
But so for you today, now, how would you define happiness?
How would I define happiness?
Yeah,
Ah, I mean, is happiness subjective? Is happiness subjective? Are you
that's
asking me what I
yeah,
define
yeah.
happiness
That's
as?
I'm asking you. How would you define happiness? What's your version of
To have
happiness?
loads of money. No, I think to be content.
Yeah,
To be content um, in what you're doing, to be satisfied, uh, in good health, everyone around you to be in good health, like to be carefree, to not have a care, but not have the need to care as well. Like, you know what I mean? There's responsibilities, but if your responsibilities are taken care of, if you take care of your responsibilities and you're content and you're happy, it's hard to say. It's hard to define happiness by using the term "be happy." Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a.
yeah.
I think to be content is to be happy, to be satisfied with what you have, to be grateful for what you have, and to not be worrying about your neighbor, to give up. I find to give up, to know that you're kind of powerless. You only have power to a certain extent in life,
Yeah.
and for the majority of it, you're powerless. And to just know that, like, you know what I mean, just to hold your hands up and just be like, oh, everything is out of my control. I can control this. Everything else is out of my control,
Yeah. I
and that's
love that.
okay. That's okay. Like,
Yeah, I love that. It's like being the passenger on the bus. You know, you wouldn't jump on the
mm,
bus worrying about, geez, I hope he doesn't take a left or a right here and I end up in Blanchardstown, you know. But when we just sit there and just be a passenger and not be worrying about where the bus is going and just realize, look, it'll go where it's meant to go. And the more
yeah,
we kind
yeah,
of let go of that, we're powerless over, the happier we live.
yeah. It's like trying to control the wind, man. It's gonna blow.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean. You're not gonna stop it. It's not. You're not gonna change that.
yeah,
So don't stress yourself trying to.
yeah.
Do you know what I
Utilize it
mean?
though as well. If you're in a boat and you have that sail, you know, you can stick up that sail and you can use that wind to your advantage. Like,
But that's it. Like, you can control this much. You can control the sail, but you can't control the sea. You can't control the wind. You can't control the sun, the tide. There's so much that's out of your power. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
I like, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, that's in control. You can just do what you can just play. It's like playing a game of poker. You can play the two cards that you're dealt. You can't play the other 18 cards that were dealt out and the five cards on the table. You can't control any of that.
yeah,
You can only
yeah,
control how you play your two cards. And you
yeah.
might lose, you might win, but you can do the best with what you can do with your little fucking 7 ace suited.
I love that, man. Yeah, that's so wise. And what would your how would your like what's your outlook on spirituality? Like, would you be a spiritual person?
Yeah, I'd be religious. That's why I'm like, I'd be Catholic, and yeah, that'd be my outlook. I'd be spiritual. And when I say, when what I've been saying before that like, I feel like I'm powerless to what God's design is, like, or what his destiny
Yeah,
or what his plan for me is. Yeah, that's why even earlier when I was saying, like, oh, if I was that good at writing comedy, then I'd be working with RTE, or I'd be working with, but like, that's just, if that's not on the card, that's probably not for me. Or maybe it is later, or maybe it is at a different time. But like, I'm just happy with what I have now, and that's the cards. They're the cards that I have, and so I'm just going to play them as best as I can. Especially coming from, like, I came from a very disadvantaged background, so you just kind of have to be grateful for what you
yeah.
have.
Yeah, I love that
Do you know what I mean?
philosophy, man. Yeah, 100%. That is the thing. And I found that was a game changer for me. I used to go to bed at night going, I want, I want, I want. I haven't got this, I haven't got that. But when I changed the word want to have, you know, it was an absolute game changer. I go to bed at night saying, I have, I have, I have, you know, I have shelter, I have food, I have water, you know, I
Mm,
have my health on my side, you know, my mental health on my side. And even my mental health, there was a time, man, I couldn't leave the house without having panic attacks, you know, contemplating suicide and things like that. And to be at a place where I like who I am today and being able to go outside and have that freedom and not to be tortured by needing a drink or a drug or needing something over there to make me feel better, you know, and to be able to just be, as you said, content, you know, content with myself. And I think when you've been through a bit of a struggle, that you realize that makes you grateful for the simple things. Like, you know what I mean? When you know what it's like to be in the rain all the time, you start to appreciate that sun a bit more. And like what we said at the very start about the hike up the mountain, you know what I mean, and the Swiss
yeah,
Alps, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
that you
yeah,
appreciate that view so much more when you've been on a bit of a struggle to get there. Like,
yeah. You contemplated suicide, did you? Is that the
yeah,
talking point? Is it?
yeah, no, 100%, man. Yeah, when I remember years ago when I suppose when drinking was quite bad. And well, drinking wasn't bad, man. Drinking was my medication at one stage. You know, that just felt so unhappy with who I was and my circumstances, and I just had no tools of dealing with my mental health. You know, really low self esteem. That critic in my head was running the show. You know, and that's when I turned to drink, and I found drink just an escape from that. But then obviously drink is a depressant. You know, so the more drink I was putting on, I might have been getting a bit of relief, but inevitably I'd wake up riddled with fear, riddled with anxiety, and that anxiety was like throwing petrol on it. You know, and like through a funny change of events, how I got sober. I was down. I remember going down to a hotel with my family. And it was ironically at an AA convention. It was an Alcoholics Anonymous convention. Didn't even fucking know. And I ended up getting drunk and I left. I was in a very bad state down here. And I remember waking up the next day and I made a conscious decision that I just wanted to kill myself. And with that decision, I felt relief and I was looking forward to it. The same way a child look forward to Santi coming the next day. You know, that's how,
Fuck off.
yeah, man, that's how bad me it was. That was the only way out. You know, that I came to peace with that decision. And as soon as I made that decision, there was a knock on my door and with the hotel room. And I remember opening the hotel room and the lad just came in talking to me. And I said, "Do you remember talking to me last night?" He goes, "I remember about, hey, can I have a chat with you?" I said, "I can't remember talking to you." And he, you know, "Well, man, this is my story." And, you know, this fella started talking to me about his experience with drinking and how he got sober. And I know I could identify with his drinking, but what I could identify the most with when he started to talk about that fear and the anxiety and never feeling good enough and feeling different and always feeling like a black sheep your whole life and always admire, like always observing other people to try to find out what normal is. Like, you know, we talked about being a chameleon, you know, and I thought I was the only one that got that, you know, I thought I was the only one that felt that default state of fear or low self-esteem, like, you know, the real low opinion in myself. And he started talking about all this stuff. And for the first time, I felt relief that shit, I'm not the only one that feels like that and thinks like that. You know, I didn't even know there was a word for fear or there was a word for low self esteem or there was a word for anxiety. Like, you'd never sit in the bar with the lad and say, "Hey, well, he gets a point, I'm feeling insecure," like, you know, or, you know, but it's like, it's what was going through my head all the time. For the first time, I was
Yeah.
like, wow. And I just felt this instant rapport, like this, I could identify with this guy. And he brought me down to a meeting then, and that was my last drink. That was over 8 years ago, you know. And what I found out then, that drinking was just the tip of the iceberg. It was the solution to what was wrong. What was wrong was just buried a lot of stuff down underneath it all, and I was slowly able to kind of under, I suppose, discover and uncover and discard a lot of the stuff I was carrying around, and a lot of the opinions I had in myself and the expectations I had in myself. And when I was able to do that, then I felt a sense of relief, man. You know that and them suicidal thoughts that I had back then that I used to take serious, they don't, I don't take them serious like anymore. You know.
And do you feel like I'm turning this into an interview about you here, Colin?
Yeah,
But do
no
you feel
worries.
like now that you have a better understanding of your emotions and everything, do you not feel like you could go back on the drink? Do you think that would undo everything? Or do you think that was part of why you were feeling the way you were? Or
Well,
why you
for
give up the
me,
drink? Like,
see, the drink with me, man, that I never enjoyed me drinking. I could never have one drink. You know, I was allergic to drink. You know, if I had one drink, like one was too many and a thousand wasn't enough. You know, I remember going into pubs and feeling like, geez, I hate this bleeding pub. I hate the barman that's here. I hate the crowd that's here. I hate the song that's playing. And then I'd have one drink and I'm trying to feel a bit loose. And then two drinks. And then after three drinks, like, this barman's me soulmate. I love this crowd that's here. They're so sound. I love this song that's playing. I want this played at my funeral. You know, and that was the impact that drink had on me. It just made everything seem rosy and smooth. And it was like this social lubricant. I could chat up the girls. I could make the lads laugh, you know. But I could never just live in that 3 point world. I could never just say, right, that's enough. You know, my favorite drink was always the next drink, you know, and I'd always drink to a blackout and I'd always drink to oblivion. And it was the physical side of it, you know what I mean? That, and but I was craving. So the physical side, that as soon as I had one drink, I always needed more. And that was the physical side of it. But then there was a mental obsession side of it, that even when I stopped drinking, and all that anxiety and fear came back, it was like, oh, I need it. I just have one drink, Colin. Just have one, just to take the edge off. Just have one beer. Like normal people just want to have a beer to take the edge off. That's all right. But as soon as I had that one beer again, I'd be back onto, I'd need a million drinks, like, you know. And I heard someone say before, you know, alcohol gave me the wings to fly and then it took away the sky. But like, not everyone's allergic to drink, like, you know. Like, if you're allergic to nuts, you know, you wouldn't fucking, you know, you're allergic to nuts, you wouldn't go, but you wouldn't be there questioning the doctor, how can I get around this? Like, how, what if I eat peanut butter? Or what if I eat peanut flavored ice cream? Or, you know, but if a doctor said to me, Colin, look, you just can't drink, it doesn't suit you. But what if we just drink at the weekend? What if we just drink them Dutch beers? Or what if we just drink on holidays, you know? So you're always trying to get a way around it. How can I drink without drinking, like, you know? And then when I got to
yeah,
a stage where I just realized, look, I just can't drink, like, you know, just, it just doesn't suit me. You know, some people can't, some people can't. And I'm at a place now where I don't want to drink, you know what I mean? Where my life is so good today, and I'm so content with myself that there's nothing I need to enhance how I feel. It's like if you had this, I put this sandwich in front of you, and it's gorgeous sandwich. I'm like, oh, do you want a bit of ketchup? No, no, it's grand. Oh, do you want a bit of ham? No, no, do you want mayonnaise? No, no, sandwich is grand. And that's like my life right now. It's just great how it is, and I don't need a drink or a drug or anything to enhance it how it is like that. For the first time in a long time, I really like who I am, and I still get me ups and downs, man. I still get me anxiety. Sometimes I don't like who I am today. Sometimes I still get that low self-esteem and them insecurities, but I can sit with that stuff. I don't need to drink on it or drug on how I feel about myself to say, look, this will pass no matter what's going on,
Yeah. I'd be like the last person to leave a pub. I think that's what I'd be like. But I don't know if that's. Do you think when you say that you're allergic to the gargle, do you think it's like a chemical allergic? Because my dad, he gave up the drink. Like he was an alcoholic and he was in AA, and he gave it up for a long time, and then he passed. But he thinks it's a genetic thing. Like he thinks that he could have passed it on, and then my brother passed away before my dad as well
Oh yeah,
in
sorry to hear that.
2016 and stuff,
Yeah.
due to addiction, substances and stuff like that. But he struggled with drink and drugs, and then he passed away. Uh,
Mm.
but so my dad, I think, took blame for that because he thinks that it's a genetic thing. So he thinks it's chemically something that we can be prone to, or like. So when you say that you're allergic to it, do you physically mean you're allergic to it?
Yeah, I feel that for me, and I didn't drink like a lot of the other lads did. And the lads that did drink me are either in recovery now, they're either very sick or they're not alive. You know what I mean? And that's the grave nature of it, and as well, my dad was in recovery too. My dad was an alcoholic and he got sober. And genetically, there is massive, like you'd see a lot. There's definitely a correlation, with the gene thing, like Bugaba Mate, he's like a psychologist around addiction. He talk about trauma, that it can be genetic, it can be a trauma related thing that we develop the coping mechanism to drink. Like every time you're thirsty, your head will say drink water. Every time you're hungry, your head will go eat food. Every time you're emotional or anxious or feeling any sort of emotion, drink alcohol. That we create this little pathway in our brain or this little button. Say, how can I get dopamine here? How can I feel okay? And that's how a habit is developed. Like you feel like A, and if you do B, you'll feel like C. So if I feel sad and I have a drink, I feel happy. If I feel bored, I place a bet. I feel excited. I feel low. I'll eat some cake. I feel high. And that's how we
Yeah,
can develop all these habits. And then we become dependent on the mood change that this habit gives us. And that's how an addiction is developed. The only way I can feel happy is if I have a drink. The only way I can feel excitement is if I place a bet. The only way I can feel high is if I eat too much food or sugar or whatever. You know what I mean?
mm,
So, but like what I was always told, in terms of why, analyzing the why, is it doesn't matter why the Titanic's going down. It's just get the fuck off it. Get onto the safety. You know what I mean? That we can spend too much time analyzing the why and the how, and just being like, look, is it impacting your life? Are you happy with the amount you drink? Are you happy how you feel with drink? What's your relationship with it? And if you're unhappy, then it's something you need to look at. Like, you know what I mean? It's like that with any relationship with anything at all. You know what I mean? That even now, I'm a few years sober, but I had issues like with eating and overtraining and overworking and geographicals and spending online shopping. So I could change the goalposts to just find and codependent relationships. We change the goalposts to different things. That I was trying to look for something on the outside of myself to make me feel good on the inside.
yeah. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, man. It is. It's it's mad, but there's always hope there, you know. There's always it's like when I gave up the drink first, I was thinking like it's what the fuck, like what are you gonna do now with your life? And we're gonna be sitting in watching the late show with me nanny, having a few rich tea like on a Friday night. But then look, I was introduced to a whole new way of living that I didn't need a drink anymore. You know, when I first got sober, I remember looking at the lads out in the pub and being like Champions League and all on and being like, oh, we can't do them down here at an AA meeting drinking cups of tea with lads twice me age, like, you know, and I missed the lads, you know. And then after a few months of being sober, I loved the new life I had. And now the lads that then over time, the lads that used to drink with are kind of asking, geez, man, how's your life? What are you doing with yourself now? Like, how's that? What's the crack with that AA thing? Like, and do you think, and you know, like yourself, asking questions of inquiry about it because they're like, well, I want some of that, like, you know, and it's like
Yeah,
that's the
yeah, yeah,
loudest example you can need, like, you know what I mean? Is that thing, like, you know, and it's gas that you know, I find that a lot of lads I know in recovery, they're very creative people, and it's like it's I don't know, again, it's back maybe it's that anxious mind that creative intellects have quite anxious minds, and maybe we can kind of numb out that noise, that anxious thinking from taking a drink, like, you know. But it's like, yeah, it is. It's but for me today, man, like I don't need a drink or a drug today to kind of enhance how I feel, you know, just to be able to be with myself, like, you know.
yeah, yeah. It's strange because the pubs are shut, so it's hard to kind of gauge like your what people's relationship is, what my relationship is with drink, because yeah, it's it's hard to know just because the pubs are shut.
Yeah,
But when
well,
the
like,
pubs were open, I used to go a lot. But now I feel like my circumstances have changed. I had a
mm,
kid, I have a new job, I'm doing different things, like, you know what I mean. So I wonder if I would frequent the pub as much anymore, like, you know
yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah, but my thing was, man, I wasn't like when I thought of an alcoholic, I thought an alcoholic was the homeless dude on the park bench with the paper bag and the whiskey, like, you know what I mean? So, but like when people started saying alcoholic to me, even when I was 16, there was people saying, man, you've an issue with the drink, it just doesn't suit you. And I was like,
Mm.
no, I'm not an alcoholic. But see, I could just find me drinking because I was a binge drinker. I thought an alcoholic was someone that drank every day, like squirted drunk. But I was a binge drinker where I could stay out for weeks, but as soon as I started, I just struggled to stop. Like if I went out on a Friday, came home on a Sunday, and I'd be in a jock. I'd wake up riddled with fear, riddled with anxiety. I am never, ever, ever drinking again. I feel shit. Like this is me done. And I'd crawl into Monday, crawl. Me, Bob Boss used to call me Bob Geldof because he used to never come in on a Monday. Like he says, you don't like Mondays at all, do you? And I remember I'm off the drink, I'm done now. And on Tuesday, like I'm starting to feel a bit better. Wednesday, I'm like, I'm okay. And then Thursday, the lads text me, oh, what, you coming out to the pub? And then Friday, I'm back out on it again. And then Sunday, I'm never, ever, ever drinking again. I was caught in that cycle for years, like, you know what I mean? Just that, and but I couldn't just go like every time I had like I could be at my nanny's tea party, and if I have one drink straight away, I'm on me fucking stag. I'm going to stag mode in my head, like, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
bar. I remember man being in the bars watching like the go out for the Champions League, and all the lads go home, and you're still sitting there talking to some random old lad at the bar, and you know it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. You have to be working 4 hours, and you just never knew when enough was enough. Like, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah. It can be dangerous. It's a horrible drug for some
Yeah.
people. Like,
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. But like, as I get, man, for me, addiction is a state of mind. You know, it doesn't have to just be drink. It can be anything. You know, drink, drugs, or figure out like whatever I can find to get a buzz out of. Like, you know what I mean? It can be, you know.
mm,
And the thing is, I'm using me. It's my inability to sit with myself, and that's what it was. That I didn't like myself that much. I didn't like Column. I did not like who I was. That I'd find anything on the outside of myself just to numb that feeling of me. I just wanted to get away from myself. And even after I put down the drink, I was still trying to do that through other means, other kind of things in sobriety, like, you know. And I found today that if we try and fill that void that I have with healthier things like the sea swim or the exercise or the journaling or the creativity, fill that void that won't have mad consequences to it, I always feel a lot better. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I can easily put like drink or drugs in that void, or online shopping or gambling, or overeating, and but they'll have negative consequences to the end of them. But I could channel it into more positive things like the sea swimming, like the exercise, like the journaling, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
try and cater for with that inner void that way as well, like.
The gargle is so destructive, like, you know what I mean? I feel like the gargle is incomparable to online shopping. Like it's so
Yeah.
destructive to yourself, obviously, but other people around you and stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like obviously, like if you're addicted to collecting stamps compared to injecting heroin, like, it's gonna be a different kind of consequence in
Yeah,
different terms
yeah,
of,
yeah.
but the principles are the same. You know what I mean? That our freedom, that we can't walk away when we want it, that we're obsessed with this thing. We could be out with our kids or out with our family, or and we're thinking, I just can't wait to go home and have a drink, or I can't wait to go home and have that fucking chocolate cake, or you know what I mean. But 100% with the drink. With the drink, for me, I just knew that if it's not making me happy, you know what I mean, that every time I go back and it's just the same thing over and over and over, you know what I mean, that and I just wasn't happy with it, and fundamentally it was because I wasn't happy with myself, you know what I mean, and I could keep going and so maybe this time be different or that time would be different, but then when I finally just realized that look, the drink just doesn't work for me, like, you know what I mean. And but like, and I like that, man. And the people that you meet in AA are incredible as well. Like, you meet some really
And they're
lovely
losing it
people.
again there, Callum.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, I think you're back now, yeah.
It's just because I'm talking about giving up the drink now. I was trying to cut off the chat.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? Hold on, I'll knock my camera off. That usually works. Can you hear me
That's
now?
what it is. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, deadly, deadly. Um,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, no, but like even the lads that I met in recovery and like they're lovely. I'll probably cross paths with your dad as well. Like it's a very small community around Dublin, like, and the greatest bunch of lads you'll ever meet. Like, I was in my 30th there 2 weeks ago, and and like that, you think, Jesus, being off the drink, how do you celebrate a 30th? I went for a run with a few mates and then went down to the 40 foot for the dip, and there was about 50 lads, mostly all in recovery, all around our age, and we were just down swimming, eating cake, having the crack, and then we went down to a coffee shop. And we were like a bunch of lads on a stag. We were the loudest people there, laughing, joking, slagging, but not one of us had a bit of drink in us. And you can still have that crack, and you can still have that buzz. And like, man, I went backpacking. I've done stand-up comedy sober. I went back solo backpacking. Been my dad's funeral, best man at my brother's wedding. I've done all these things in sobriety, and I didn't need a drink. Because I used to think you needed a drink for certain things. If this happens, come here, you need a point. Or if that happens, you need to have a few drinks, like. So it's like, when I
Mm,
realized, she's like, I don't need a drink. I can sit with these things without a gargle. And this is just society's fucking expectation that you need to have a gargle for certain things to happen. Like, and I remember I think one of the most profound things that ever happened to me in my drinking. Now, when I first gave up drink, I had all these things in my head, right? If this or that happens, I'm going back out in the drink. I don't care. This is my plan. I'm going back out in the drink if this happens. And I remember sitting at an AA meeting before, and this lad came in late. He was about 10 minutes late. And he came in with this cake, and he cut it up, and he shared it with everyone at the room. And then it was his turn to speak, and he said, "Oh, blah blah, I'm an alcoholic. I'm just after coming from my daughter's funeral." And he just started sharing. He said, "There's nowhere else I wanted to be than just here with you people." And I just remember getting blown away that this lad just after losing his daughter, and he's the only thing he wanted to do was come to an AA meeting, share about what happened. And not only that, he had the thought of other people to bring a cake, and he didn't want to drink. And after that, I always remember, I never ever need to drink again. That no matter what happens, I can deal with it. And that's what I've learned, as well, some resilience with life, that I don't need to run away from my feelings or my emotions or the circumstances or situations around me, that I can sit with all that stuff today.
mm. Yeah, that's a powerful one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's powerful. Yeah. I suppose everyone has life's a journey, man. Like everyone has their own kind of just their own kind of voice or like the people are always kind of learning about themselves and like what's best for them, like
Do they always get deep, these podcasts?
yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I suppose it's just I don't know. I think, man, what it is just when two people that just talk, that just are like minded. Just everything just comes out. You know what I mean? It's the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, yeah,
This the other day, I'm 44, just swimming there and met this stranger just swimming and straight away the two of us are just having a really deep conversation. I didn't even know his fucking. Didn't even know his name, like, and we're just throwing it all
yeah,
out there, and it was beautiful just to walk away, like, and but this what it is, man. We're normalising stuff. Like, when did we come up and say, no, you can't talk about that, you can't talk about this? And I remember as a kid growing up that I grew up in a madhouse, we had 7 siblings, in a fucking 3 bedroom house in working class part of Dublin, and so it was a madhouse, like, but we always had we always were told that didn't matter what was going on in the house once the neighbours didn't find out. But I internalized that. As like I'd be going to school the next day and be fucking madness going on in the house or whatever. And I just like, just act normal, just show up, play with your friends in the yard, and we won't talk about what's going on at home, or we won't talk about. And then I internalized that it won't talk about what's going on inside me. So as an adult growing up, that I'd be feeling anxious or off or depressed or suicidal, but I'd be still the clown going, in
yeah,
work
yeah, yeah,
around
yeah,
friends, and that's internalizing everything. Whereas, but now I'm like, why not have the conversation? Like, why not fucking talk about what's going on? Why are we always trying to wrap it up in a nice little bow? Everything's great, everything's amazing, Whereas today is like someone say, how are you today? You know, I'm feeling a bit shit, actually, or feeling anxious, or I'm feeling low, or I just don't like who I am today, or I don't like how I look today, and I don't, and it's great when you can just say, oh yeah, cool, man, me too. You feel that too, oh deadly, and it's like just
yeah.
normalizing stuff that we all feel like, are you at the bed? I wet the bed too. Well, that's grand, you know what I mean? So we can all wet the bed now. You don't have to hide it anymore.
I like to do it just to challenge people and just like make them uncomfortable a little bit. Like they're like, "Ah, how are you doing today?" Like, "Ah, my fucking child has a big rash on his balls." Like, just challenge, just make them feel uncomfortable. Like, and they're like, "Oh, all right, okay, yeah." And I'm like, "You fucking ass! I don't do small talk. I just go straight
Yeah,
to the big talk."
yeah. No, 100%, man. But I feel as well when you start talking about that stuff, I feel like you were being vulnerable, and then you gave me permission to be vulnerable without you even knowing it. Like you showed your hand there, and I was like, "Shit,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
going.
yeah,
He's talking
yeah,
about his dad, Like fair play to him being so honest about that, And then I felt comfortable that I could talk about that, so you can kind of gauge where the conversation is when you start talking about stuff. Then I can as well, like you know what I mean,
yeah,
and and then just striking that rapport that you can have this really open, honest conversation with someone, like, and you're not holding back. And this is me out on the table, warts and all, like, that we
mm,
for too long we have this, I don't know, it's the capitalism lifestyle. Everything has to be big, white, lovely smiles, and everything's amazing. This is me, me car, and and we just look at things through one. We look at Instagram, everyone's photo. It's just that one little box that we see. There's so much going on in life beyond all that. From doing sketches, that video you do, like how many bloopers did you have? How many camera people? There was a mic there, the fellow with sound man, a cameraman, a director. But all we see is what's in that little box, and we don't. But that's not
yeah, yeah,
life.
yeah.
That's not reality, and that's what Instagram can paint. That Jesus, they're the fucking happiest couple ever. I remember me and my ex, man. My brother used to always call us Pat and Mary because like we'd be this like like Pat and Mary out for that dad. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
shove this Snickers up your ass. How are you father? And it's like, and that's how we killed each other. And then up on Instagram, we'd be all the happy fucking couple of the year, like, you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so false, like, and like that we can get so wrapped up. And when the days I'm feeling low and depressed, and I'll switch on Instagram. So, geez, Joe's having a great life. He's always laughing and smiling. Look at all his photos. But all it is that we're putting up the best version of ourselves constantly out there without realizing it'll give you feeling low and feeling anxious. It's just another emotion. You're just feeling the other end of the emotional spectrum that will inevitably feel low, we'll inevitably feel anxious. It's universal and it's inevitable that we're going to feel low and unhappy. But when you're feeling like that, you do tend to feel lonely. You feel like you're the only one going through it. But by having conversations like this one that we're having, that we realize, oh, actually not the only one that gets these. I'm not the only one that gets suicidal thoughts. I'm not the only one that feels anxious. I'm not the only one that doesn't want to get out of bed anymore. I'm not the only one that sometimes hates who I am. But then when I talk to other people, I feel like that. I'm like, wow, I get a sense of relief and I get a sense of comfort to know I'm not the only one trudging this road, like, you
Hmm.
know?
It's usually when you're outside having a smoke in a beer garden that you have these conversations.
It's real, yeah, these real deep conversations and
Yeah,
talking philosophy, like real deep
yeah, yeah,
philosophies
yeah.
going on. You know, yeah, yeah. That's what you'd always find me out in the smoking area. Have a smoke, would you? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's powerful stuff, man. It is. It's powerful stuff. But now the game's hard, you man. You know, and I don't know you that well, but I know one thing for sure. Your dad be fucking over the moon, proud of you, man. Who you are, like, and the stuff that you're doing, like, and even what you've been through, and being able to kind of still put a smile on people's faces, man. You know, it's phenomenal stuff that you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think I do it for myself, so I don't even I can't even take like credit or anything because I think everything that we do is just for a selfish endeavor, one way or another. You know, to kind
Yeah.
of get self satisfaction to make ourselves feel good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that's it. But you can say I could fucking, selfishly put something out, comedy to make someone happy, or I could selfishly just drink a bag of cans for me. But it's like at least there's people benefiting from one side of the thing that you're
Mm,
doing, like, you know what I mean? And 100%, like
yeah,
everything, me going out and helping people, if I'm going out donating money or cleaning the street, it is a selfish endeavor because it's making me feel good. But what I
yeah,
realize, if we do good, I feel good. And I could aim for a satisfied life or I could aim for a successful life. And a successful life is a nice car in the driveway in my mansion, but I'm still riddled with anxiety. I still don't like who I am, like, but I can aim for a satisfied life where I'm doing things that make me feel good and I make me feel fulfilled, like, you know what I mean? And filling that void with healthier things, like,
yeah, yeah. It's a fair point.
But
Fair
yeah.
point. Well argued, Colin. You always have the answers, don't you?
I have all the answers and I know nothing. The blind leading the blind. That's what I'm gonna call this podcast. The blind leading the blind. But man, it's been absolutely powerful talking to you, Joe, and you're an absolute gent. Is there any closing notes that you'd like to blow us away with? I know you wrote a Martin Luther King motivational speech.
I did me how just fucking I don't know, man. Just like suck it up and get on with it. Like no,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, it's no. I don't really have anything other than that now.
Yeah, no,
Enjoy
it's
life. Enjoy life. Don't take it
enjoy life.
serious. Me outfit when at my dad's funeral, he had a book left up on the remembrance things on the table with a few different things, tokens of his life, like
What part of Dublin was your dad from? Like where
Dublin
where do you
one,
live? In
Dublin
in
one. He lived
inner
in a
city around
Summer
Christ
Hill,
Street.
like
Okay, yeah, yeah. And I was just trying to think,
Ballybock
would
kind
I've
of.
ever crossed paths with him?
Yeah, you might have. I used to go to like AA meetings. I used to go to the like AA conventions for New Year's Eve and stuff. I went with him one year to the it was a there was a New Year's
In
Eve party for AA.
Drumcondra. Was there in Drumcondra by any chance?
It was out that way, yeah, out that direction.
Yeah, gas. The sparkly waters and the coffee's going left, right, and centre.
Yeah. Couldn't sleep for a week. Hopped up on caffeine.
Yeah,
The
snorting
fucking
lines of
percolators.
snorting lines of custard creams.
Jesus. Oh, stop.
Sorry, what were you
Um,
saying, man?
but he had a book, yeah, like one of the books that he gave to me sister. My sister wanted to leave her up, and the book was like, don't sweat the small stuff." Like,
I love that.
so that's where I live. That's my closing argument. Don't sweat the small stuff. Like it doesn't matter. Nothing really matters.
Yeah, so channel your stresses into things that are worth stressing over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, any cool plans for the rest of the week, Joe?
I'm going to a chiropractor today because I have really bad posture.
Okay.
So I'm excited to see what way I walk out of there. Like a pretzel.
Hopefully, you walk in better than you walked in. Anyway, that's all we can hope for, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. That's
That's
it.
it,
Well, I
man.
won't be jumping in any seas anytime soon
Ah,
anyway.
you say that now. I'll get you into the sea someday, man. You'll love it. Don't knock it till you try
Yeah, I'll just have a cold shower or a lukewarm shower. Baby, ba-
it.
baby steps.
Baby steps, man. That's it. Baby steps. Right, Joe. Enjoy the rest
Right,
of your Monday, man. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, man.
you
And
too.
I'm looking forward to a few more sketches.
Great.
Talk to you soon, bro.
Talk to you then, Colin.
Bye
Cheers.
bye.
Bye bye.